Hey everybody, welcome back, and welcome back to another upgrade video. I know, surprise, surprise. But you guys love these upgrade videos. They're our most popular videos, so this one actually turned out really well. When I say turned out really well, I don't mean I turned it into something. I mean the speaker actually measured really well. So I got some thumbs up to give today to the guys at KEF. This time we're going over this KEF R3 Meta that somebody sent in. And before I get rolling too much, I want to say thanks to Darren Hart for sending me and my staff some cool t-shirts. It's got this cool little outline of a guitar on there and something on the back as well that's kind of related to the whole guitar thing, which are really cool and I really appreciate it. So thank you very much, Darren. Now, I said this thing measured really well. It did. It was a real surprise. You know, I've had quite a few KEFs in here, and for the most part, they've measured really well. But they're also built to a price point, and the customers send these things in for a reason. They want them to sound better, and maybe their expectation is a little higher than what they get when they get these things. But overall, the design of them are really good. So let's go through this thing and talk about it a little bit. And this one is the Meta, which has the little special back chamber on the tweeter. I'm not a big fan of exactly how these sound. I mean, I'm a dome tweeter, paper cone kind of a guy, and I like the planar magnetics, and I like the smooth sound of paper, but these are not bad. They're not that bad. I'm not a fan of the material, but they're not that bad. And the little woofer in here is kind of like a little metal cone woofer. Feels like, I don't know, I'm not going to beat on it too much to figure it out. But it's not a paper cone woofer. But it's got limited X-Max. But for the application that they're using it in, it does work. So overall, they did a really good job with this. Now, there are some areas where it fell short. We're going to talk about that. And I'm going to start with the binding post cups that's on these things. I took this off the back of it. It's got these connectors on here that you twist them one way and it disconnects the binding post. You turn them in and it connects them. So it's kind of like not having to have a little plate to push in and out of these things to connect them. What would have been better if they had just put one good set of binding posts on there instead of two sets with whatever this control is here of locking them together. They could have just used one good set that didn't have ferrous material on the back of them. It's like, come on, guys. Like, do you really want to put steel parts in the signal path? This just drives me crazy. Just a brass nut on the back, a brass binding post. Obviously, it's going to be a huge improvement when we do this upgrade and we send out one set of tube connectors. So you can just drill out one of these binding post cup holes here, put the tube connectors in there and run everything to the tube connectors and get all this out of the signal path, and it's going to be a big improvement in clarity across the board. Rewiring them too. I mean, they had PVC jacketed wire with little push-on connectors and all that good stuff. I hate all that stuff, but it is what it is. But there's some good and there's some bad here. Let's start with the good. Tweeter circuit. There's a little clarity cap on the tweeter. Not a real high-end MR level clarity cap, but it is a little clarity cap. Very similar to the JB polycaps that we use all the time here at GR Research in all the applications where we're looking for a good quality budget level polycap that's not crazy expensive, but that sounds good. And that's about how I'd characterize the little clarity cap. It's got a little air core inductor on it, but then it's got a sandcast resistor. So those are the three parts in the tweeter circuit. It's like, okay, so it's good parts if they didn't put a sandcast resistor in front of it, but not super high end, not great. The woofer, on the other hand, I say the woofer, the mid-bass woofer, mid-bass driver, it's got some cheese in it. I mean, it's got, the first part is this electrolytic cap, so the whole signal's passing through this electrolytic capacitor. And there's a resistor in front of that, and the resistor has steel standoffs on it. It's like, oh my gosh. So resistor, big capacitor, and then there's an iron core inductor in shunt with a little sandcast resistor, and then there's an air core inductor that's knocking the top end out of it. So at least they've got an air core inductor on it there. So, mixed bag there. The woofer circuit, it's got the cheesiest parts you can buy. But then again, it's only playing up to about 300 hertz, at least where it's crossing to the mid-bass driver. So it's like, okay, you could almost get away with that. The bang for the buck would be to replace this inductor with a big air core inductor, leave the notch filter there, and put a bypass cap on this 170 microfarad electrolytic. I don't recommend replacing these two electrolytics with polycaps because they physically wouldn't fit in the box at that point. This is a 270 mic value. So those two caps together would be this big plus a big laminated I-core inductor and an air core inductor, and it wouldn't fit in there. It'd be a mess. So I'll put together some options for this. Like I said, a little air core inductor and a bypass cap. Leave the rest of it there. You can take all these parts off, point-to-point wire them with the new big coil and the bypass cap, and it's an inexpensive way to kind of take it up a notch. Now, the reason I'm saying let's go in and just upgrade these parts is because I'm not having to redesign anything. The guys at KEF did a really good job on the design work. Just the bean counters got a hold of it and used really cheap parts in this thing. So it's like, I don't have to go in and fix for amplitude issues. I'm not having to go in and fix for phase issues. I'm not having to go in and fix for breakup in a driver's range where there's stored energy, the box isn't resonating. It's like they didn't do anything wrong. They just built it to a price point. So I appreciate that. They did a good job. But it also means you could throw a little bit of money at it and really bring the performance up a lot just by putting some good quality parts in the path and getting some of this ferrous material and these cheap parts out of the signal path. It's going to improve everything about this thing. So let's take a look at the measured frequency responses, and you can see why I'm giving these guys thumbs up. Let's look at the on-axis frequency response, and you can see it's real linear, looks really smooth, except the top end is dropping off just a little. So when replacing these parts, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the resistor value in line with the tweeter just a little bit there, and we're going to bring it up about half a dB or a dB. We're going to just bring those spatial cues out just a little bit, because that's up there at that top octave. That's where the spatial cues are. I know a lot of people think, oh, if that comes up, it's too bright sounding. It's really not. The brightness is typically centered in the 2,000 to 3,000 hertz range. That's where your brightness is. That's your treble. We're well into upper level harmonics and those spatial cues, and bringing that up a little bit is not going to hurt anything at all. It's going to help balance it out a little bit more and help improve the imaging. Looking at the individual curves of the tweeter, mid-bass driver, and the woofer independently, you can see, as I said, it crosses at around 300 hertz, and it's a nice smooth transition there. It's a low order filter, but it works. So no reason to reinvent the wheel. Here's where things get very impressive to me. Vertical off-axis is great, as you would expect, because the tweeter's mounted inside the mid-bass driver. So as you move up vertically, you're not changing the time arrival of the drivers. So the vertical off-axis looks pretty consistent and stays the same as you go up. And the distance between these two drivers is really negated by the fact that the wavelength at 300 hertz is so long that as you move up or down, you're not creating much of a phase rotation at all. So vertical off-axis looks great, and the horizontal off-axis looks great. So as you move left or right, and you can see the measurement there, we're dead on axis, and we're moving 10 degrees off-axis per measurement. That's about as good as it gets. That's a really nice linear drop-off in all directions. So it's going to load the room very evenly and very consistently with no peaks and valleys and things like that. If you've got a bunch of dips and stuff going on, it's not because of the speaker, it's because of your room. Here's the other impressive part, is the spectral decay. You've heard me say many times that the one measurement that will tell you more about how a speaker sounds is the spectral decay. In this case, the spectral decay is extremely clean. These drivers don't have stored energy. They play, they stop. There's nothing ringing going on there. So I'm not having to fix any of that stuff. Looking at the impedance, you can see it's fairly balanced. The tweeter end is a little higher there, and with me reducing that resistor in line with it just a little bit, it's going to bring that level down just a hair, which is going to help the impedance. But it does drop to 3.5 ohms, so keep in mind you do need an amplifier that's 4 ohm stable amp to drive these speakers. So overall, KEF guys, you did a pretty good job. If you ever decided to do this speaker and just put really high-end parts in here, I know you'd have to charge a lot more for it, but you would have a pretty impressive speaker as far as good quality parts, measures well. It all just comes down to, do you like the sound of these particular drivers? I'm not a big fan of this type of material. You know, I'm a paper cone kind of guy. It has more of a natural sound to me. But these, and what I've heard of these in the past, it's not bad. You know, they've made good use with what they've had, and I can't knock them on any of that stuff. Only thing I can say is, look, they built them to a price point, put some good quality parts in there. This is going to be a great little upgrade. I'll throw it up on our site. You guys can just click on it, and there'll be an option for the low frequency, but this is going to be a nice little upgrade for the KEF R3 Meta. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you haven't subscribed, please do, and we'll see you guys in the next video.